Hey everybody, it is test time. I am back in the studio and I want to do some marker tests. Now this is not going to be a scientific test, it's not going to be an exhaustive test, it's just a test of some stuff that I've accumulated over the last month or so and wanted to try. So many have seen or may have seen about these Dicom high temp fusing markers. So this is got a relatively large tip on it. And I need to shake these up and prime them up. But the black, they had a couple of different colors, but the black is what I bought. It goes up to 2000 degrees, and the white goes up to 1650. It says 1550 to 1650. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run, I've got some samples here of, or some scrap of glass. I've got white, black, and some turquoise just for the sake of it. And I'm going to basically run a line down each of these, and then I'm going to fire them at two different temperatures. It seems as if most everything I do in the kiln, in my kiln, is either a full fuse or basically kind of a tack or almost contour fuse at about 1375. So I'm going to do a sample on these three colors at 1375, and I'm going to do a sample of these three colors at full fuse, which is more like 1475 for me. Now I also slump stuff, which is going to be closer to 1200, but I'm not doing a test at 1200. So anyway, there's these markers, and then there's also this. So this is a pack of 24 markers that I bought off of Amazon. These guys are not cheap. They're anywhere from $12 to $15 a piece on Amazon, and they're in my Amazon store. If you click through to my Amazon store to buy those, I get a small commission. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps me out, so I appreciate that. These I also got on Amazon. Now, it says they're perfect for glass. They probably will not fire well, so I'm just curious to see what they look like on the glass. This has 24 colors. Look, there's quite a array of them. I'm very interested in the gold, the silver, maybe how the black does. So we'll see how they look like on glass before they go into the kiln. But I'm going to do a test and test all of these in these kiln temperatures with the same as these, just to see, because these are a lot less expensive. The whole 24 pack was only $8. Now prices can fluctuate on Amazon, but when I bought it, it was $8 for all of these. So these come in a larger tip and a smaller tip. There's one on each end. I'm going to do, I think, the bigger tip on both of them. I'm going to put this on sped up mode because you don't care. All I'm going to do is draw lines. Got them on paper, and then I'm going to make notes at the bottom what the colors were so that I can try to line these up after they do the firings to see what color was which. This would be easy if it was just these two, but I've got this large packet of markers too, so I'm going to make some notes at the bottom as I go. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and draw these out and then fire them, and I'll show you what they look like when they come out. Well, I don't know if you could tell, but the tip came off of this black one. As I was like trying to prime it, it poked right down into it, and then I was able to pour out a whole bunch of ink. If I take this cap off, I'm sure it's a giant mess because it's really just a hole now, and all of this ink is running out of the barrel. So that one will be going back to Amazon. But I didn't want to miss the opportunity to test it a little bit, so I did take a Q-tip and kind of drew a line on there. You can kind of see it's drying. It still has some wet spots, but I just wanted to try to get something, and so I used that little puddle and drew on there, although I am going to send that back. Now on these guys, this was aggravating. They're not actually marked. So, I mean, this one is silver, and I happen to know it's silver. What's interesting, though, is that silver on the back here has a code of 2AM, and there's no coding on this pen, this marker at all. So I just tried to keep them in order of how I used them in the box here so that I can try to compare, but I didn't even end up making any notes because I don't know what the colors were called, because I can try to match them up on the back, but why didn't the pen barrel have a color marked on it? I have no idea. So, okay, that's enough of that. This is going to go into the kiln ×2, and we'll see what the results look like. One more thing as I put these into the kiln. The colors are really bright on finished glass. I'm going to let these dry and then see if they scratch off at all. But I was pretty impressed with how some of these colors are popping off of that black and the turquoise. So, you know, if this is something that you're doing as kind of cold working, if you will, I'm pretty impressed. I'm going to let these cure for 24 hours before I try to scratch them and see what they look like. These are the set that are going to go in for the full fuse, but I'll give it a little bit of a scratch test just to see before I put them in. All right, I said I would let these sit for 24 hours and then try to do a little scratch test. They've been sitting for like an entire week. So I just got distracted and couldn't get on to this. So I'm going to use another piece of glass just to do a little scratch testing here. So on that Dykem marker, definitely comes off. That's not a surprise though. What I was really interested in is these color ones. Oh yeah. Well, that's scratching right off. So I suppose you could use it after you fire something, but they're scratching right off with another piece of glass. So at your own risk, because if you decide to paint little eyes and a smiley face or something, that might be fine, but you know, it could scratch. So it depends on what you're using it for. If it's going to be a sun catcher hanging in a window and not getting any action, then it might be just fine, but certainly wouldn't do that for any kind of I don't know, coin, dish or keys dish and that kind of stuff, because I think it would end up scratching fairly easily. So let's, this is the set that's going in for the full fuse. So let's do that. I am going to put a couple of strips of clear on here because I do want to see how they do capped. I don't think it's going to make any difference, but I'm going to cap at least one of these with like a half strip of clear just to see what that looks like as well. Okay, I'm kind of going to ramble through my results here. Here were the three that were tack fused at a 1375, and then here's where the three that were full fused, and the colors are really about the same, to be honest. So as a reminder, I used this white high temp marker on the first line and a black high temp marker, Dykem brand, on the second line. The black did fine. The white seemed to do fine on the tack fuse on all three of these, although I would argue that the white looks pretty yellowy here. It doesn't really look white to me. The white did okay-ish in the full fuse on the black, but it pretty much disappeared on the white and on the turquoise here. Let me tell you about what I did. I did take on this one for the full fuse, and I put a strip of clear across the bottom of this so that we could see what it looked like uncapped and then capped with clear. And then on the turquoise, I dusted a really thick layer of clear powder on this half of it to kind of see what would happen with clear powder, not a full 3 millimeters of clear. So, these black and the white markers were fine-ish. The white on the white at low fire looks pretty good, but at high fire, uncapped, you can kind of see it. Capped, it pretty much disappears. The black, though, does fairly well on all of them through all of the, although you don't see it much on black, but I wouldn't expect to see black on black. But the black on the turquoise and on the clear, and it does particularly well when it's capped. Because as you can see here, it's kind of grayed out when it's on the uncapped portion, but capped, it stays nice and black. Kind of the same thing happened here. It's kind of grayed out on the top portion, but that bottom portion is much stronger. So that's those. On these colored markers, you can see that this was the cheap set from Amazon. They almost all turned white. But interestingly, the white stayed. So if you're looking for a white marker, I don't know that I would spend $16 on this. You can. I'll put it in my Amazon store. But, for like $8, I got 24 of these guys with 2 different tips. Now, to be fair, I did the dot tip on all of these, not the fine tip. But it's the same ink inside. But look how white, particularly on the tack fuse, look how white all of those are and how well they pop off. Now on the black, you can see a little bit of color variation in those, so it's not really white. But again, on the turquoise, they read pretty much as white. Even at full fuse temps, you know, check out how bright some of those ended up being on the full fuse on the black. Now you lose them when you cap them, which is really interesting. Other than two, there were two here that seem to maintain a little bit of color and integrity, and I guess I'm not surprised. So they are the silver. So there was a silver marker in here, and you see as almost kind of a faint yellow line there, and then a gold, and the gold is down here. Now, on the black, the silver is still actually almost kind of silvery. Here it's turned kind of a grayed out color. Same with the gold down here. The full fuse, it's still kind of a grayed out. There's actually a little bit of texture on there. It's kind of funny, but you can see it, the gold one down here as well. And then when you get down to the turquoise and you've capped it, this is interesting. So this is the silver. It's kind of barely visible here at full fuse, but it's on there, and it's created a little texture. Under capping with powder, it almost comes across as black there. The silver, or excuse me, the gold, that was the silver. The gold down here, kind of the same thing. There's a texture that it's left, but underneath the powder, it kind of maintained its color on the turquoise. But then on the white, coincidentally, it fully almost disappears. Both the silver here and the gold here. So if I were looking for something that would give me a black read on white, then that high temp black marker does a fairly nice job. If I'm looking for something that's going to give me white on pretty much any color, particularly uncapped, then gosh, one of these cheapo markers might work for me. They all pass the scratch test. I mean, these are in here. They're not gonna scratch off of the glass. Let's see. Yeah, even at tack fuse. So they would pass the scratch test as well. I don't know what you might have learned from this. These markers are not inexpensive. The black does better when it's capped. The white kind of disappeared on me a little bit. So this one I would use maybe with a little trepidation if I were looking for white on black. You know, this high fire white marker kind of gave me almost a gray look, but frankly, some of these other markers give you almost the same effect and heck of a lot cheaper. So I'll go ahead and put all of these in my Amazon store if you're interested in them. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this interesting. I've got other tests coming up for other products that may or may not be intended for glass, so make sure that you're subscribed to the channel, turn on your notifications, and we'll learn together. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.